Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over an upcoming severe weather event over parts of the central United States. You're going to have some warmer temperatures over the eastern and southern United States, while we're going to have some colder temperatures over the north central and northwestern United States, where we even have the potential for a snowstorm threat. Over the past couple of days we've had some longer range forecast videos such as the hurricane season forecast, the summer forecast, and the April forecast. So if you haven't already, go check that out. It's all on my channel, and you guys, if you haven't already, can go check that out and see what I am expecting for April, the summertime, and also for this hurricane season. We already have a slight risk of severe weather in effect for 3 days in a row. So let's get right into it here, and let's start off with your current National Weather Service page. We currently have some winter weather advisories in effect for parts of Wyoming, Montana, and a little bit of Idaho, as well as some red flag warnings in effect for the Dakotas and also into the southwestern United States, where we do have some fire danger. We have some, I believe, fire weather watches in effect for parts of the southwest and parts of the northern Rockies as well, and some more fire weather watches and red flag warnings in effect for parts of the northeast. We have winter storm watches in effect for western South Dakota and eastern and northeastern Wyoming. And we also have some blowing dust advisories in effect for northwestern Nevada, as well as some wind advisories scattered throughout parts of the southwest as well. In Ocotillo Wells, California, they got to 103 degrees Fahrenheit. Yesterday, that was the high temperature for the lower 48. And in Escort Station, Maine, they got to 5 degrees Fahrenheit. That was the low temperature for the entire continental United States. In Johnson City, Texas, they got 0.83 inches of rainfall. That was the highest rainfall report yesterday. And the highest snowfall report was 1 mile north of Caribou National Weather Service in Maine. So 1 mile north of the actual National Weather Service office in Maine, in Caribou, Maine, is where they got 2.6 inches of reported snowfall yesterday. Here's a look at the snowfall amounts, just to quickly cover that snowstorm in parts of the northwest. You can see that it's going to be mainly a 2 to 6 inch event, with some parts of the Dakotas, Nebraska, back through some of the higher elevations in Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho, getting 6 to 10 or more inches of snowfall, even a few areas getting upwards of 12 inches of snowfall. And then what you see over here in Maine and New Hampshire is from today also, and from what's happening today, and also what happened yesterday, and some of that is being added on into that region. So those areas also got an additional 2 to 6 inches of snowfall yesterday, and also that's still continuing on today. Here's what the Storm Prediction Center is showing for the categorical risk for today. We have a marginal risk in that dark green, which covers the northern plains, and then we have a slight risk in effect for parts of central Minnesota there. Here's what the day 2 outlook looks like, and you can see that we have a marginal risk in effect for the central plains, as well as a slight risk in effect for a little bit of Missouri, Oklahoma, and Kansas as well, and that's for tomorrow. And then here would be for Wednesday, and you can see that we have a larger area of marginal risk in effect for much of the central part of the country, and then a slight risk of severe weather in effect for parts of Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and also into Mississippi, and a little bit of Tennessee as well. And that's where we have a slight risk. They might even upgrade that to a small area of enhanced risk over the next couple of days. Here's what the RGEM model is showing, which is the regional Canadian model, and this is basically just going to show you generally what the radar is expected to look like. We can see that we have a low pressure out through parts of Colorado, Nebraska, and Kansas, with a little bit of rainfall out ahead of there. As we continue this forward, you're going to see that we have more of that rain and snow start to engulf parts of South Dakota and Nebraska, with that low pressure still in parts of southern Nebraska and northern Kansas. So this would be by tomorrow early in the afternoon. Then by the late afternoon into the early morning hours on Wednesday, you can see that that low pressure is now over parts of Nebraska and Iowa, just about to cross over into Iowa there. And then you can see that we have some thunderstorms out to the north in parts of central Minnesota, eastern South Dakota, and then even you see that little arm of precipitation drag down in the form of a cold front over parts of Kansas. And that's where you're going to get that slight risk of severe weather for tomorrow. So this would be what we see by tomorrow morning. We can see that low pressure mainly up through here. You're starting to see a little bit of a wedge back through here, so it's starting to try and cut off, and you're trying to get another low pressure to form down there, and that's where your severe weather is going to come from for tomorrow. So you can see that we have a little bit of stormy activity back through Oklahoma, Kansas, starting to cross over into Missouri and Arkansas by Wednesday morning. Then by Wednesday early afternoon, it's really ramping up by this point. You have a fairly robust band of rainfall over parts of Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas right through there. So we are dealing with some rather gusty winds as well as some heavy downpours at times in those areas. Then by Wednesday night, this is when I think I think probably on the day 3 outlook they might upgrade that to an enhanced risk for this reason, and I think they'll expand the slight risk slightly at least. It's the main reason is because we have that low pressure back through here. We have a long cold front back down to the south, but we also have a very strong warm front up to the north. So you're getting all this warm air to be pushed up ahead of this, all this warm, moist, humid air out ahead of the system. And that's really going to allow a lot of thunderstorms to really get produced. You have some warm temperatures, and you also have that humid air that is needed. So both of those ingredients being together are going to help really quite well. The threat of thunderstorms really going to start to prosper quite well with all of the ingredients in place for Thursday. So this would be by early in the morning on Thursday. You can see that the lead band of thunderstorms is still there over parts of Tennessee and Mississippi. So we're still dealing with a little bit of thunderstorm activity through those areas. You are getting some cold air to be pulled down on the back end, so you're not really dealing with as much thunderstorm activity back through into parts of Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Kansas, and then back through into areas in the northern plains, just because we're dealing with a little bit of drier and colder air that's being dragged down into those regions. Then by Thursday morning, we have that low pressure in northern Iowa still not really moved too much, and then really it's dissipating by Thursday in the early afternoon. Here's what the high temperatures are expected to look like for today. You can see those 80s getting up through parts of the southwest and also all the way up into parts of South Dakota and Nebraska. So very warm for today. And you can see that the area that's expecting thunderstorms today is definitely above that 65 degree temperature threshold, which is usually the threshold for what you need for some thunderstorms to spawn up. And you can see we have temperatures that are at 75, 80 degrees even in parts of central Minnesota. So definitely warm enough for today. Here's for tomorrow, and you can see it's still definitely warm enough in those areas. You can see that we have temperatures that are going to be in the upper 70s in a lot of these areas, so definitely warm enough in much of Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas. And then for Wednesday, you can see that area over the Tennessee Valley and the Great Lakes is all above that 65 degree threshold. It's definitely well above there. Most of those areas are above 75 degrees, so still very warm from the Gulf Coast to parts of the Great Lakes. You can see that it's very warm over much of that area, 10 to 20 degrees above average in some of those regions. Here's what the dew points look like, and you can see these are this is what's really worrying in terms of you're not really seeing these ingredients match up to what you would want to see if you want a severe weather event. So you could take that as a good or bad thing depending on whether you like thunderstorms or not. We have dew points that are barely getting up into the upper 50s, still enough to support some thunderstorms, but not enough to really support some decent, good, well-developed thunderstorms. So you can see all through parts of the Central Plains. For later today, we have dew points that are in the upper 50s at best in these areas, none really reaching up into the 60s. A little bit better for tomorrow afternoon, where some of these areas in Oklahoma, Texas, and a little bit of Arkansas are getting up above 60, but that's not really the area that's seeing any thunderstorms tomorrow. And then you can see that for Wednesday, this is the one day where we see dew points that get above 60, and this is the one day as well that we have the threat of really convective, strong thunderstorms. And you can see that 60-degree dew point line reaches well up into the mid-Mississippi River Valley, down through into some of the western Gulf states as well. So you can see We have ample dew points on Wednesday, but for today and tomorrow, we don't have too good of dew points in terms of creating thunderstorms. They're really only going to be in the upper 50s, which you typically would want to see them above 60 degrees for dew points to get a decent thunderstorm to spawn up. Here's what the Cape values look like, the convective available potential energy. This is a way of tracking how much energy is in the atmosphere. You can see we have ample amounts back through the northern plains for today. This would be by tonight, and you can see that by tomorrow morning, those amounts do go a bit lower, but by this point, we're reloading for the next severe event, which is going to be down through here, and you can see the Cape values all above 500, which is generally what I like to use as the threshold for the severe weather in terms of the amount of energy in the atmosphere. So we have well above 500 Cape in a lot of these areas, and then if we go to later today and then into tomorrow, we do have Cape values that at one point are going to get up to around 500 and up very far to the north, still seeing some measurable amount of Cape. So that is definitely something that would support some thunderstorm activity. That is going to wrap it up for today's video, however. So if you did enjoy it, please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.